रामाय रामभद्राय रामचंद्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीतायाः पतये नमः। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम्। अञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करं। नमोऽस्तु रामाय सलक्ष्मणाय देव्यै च तस्यै जनकात्मजायै। नमोऽस्तु रुद्रेन्द्रयमानिलेभ्यो नमोऽस्तु चन्द्रार्कमरुद्गणेभ्यः। ॐ नमः परमहंसास्वादितचरणकमलचिन्मकरन्दाय भक्तजनमानसनिवासाय श्रीरामचन्द्राय ॐ। So before we proceed into the shlokas of the sarga that we are seeing, I'm just making some comments, which is that so as you can see, this chapter itself is quite technical, and you have to be a little patient with the chapter. Like last week, two people asked me. So last week, somebody asked me, "What are you doing during lockdown?" I told them we are discussing some Ramayana. So he asked, "When did you start?" I said, "We started in April." So they asked me, "So did Hanuman burn Lanka or not?" I said, "वो बात तो छोड़ो, even Rama is not yet born." So they were like, "Okay, what is since April you are talking and Rama is not yet born?" So they were surprised. And somebody else also asked me, what where are you currently in Ramayana? I said Ashwamedha Yaga is going on. So they asked me, whose Ashwamedha Yaga, whether Dasharatha's or Sagara's or Rama's. Rama's Ashwamedha Yaga is in Uttarakanda, but anyway, so these things come up. You should be a little patient. And Balakanda will be like this. You will see very little of Rama itself in Balakanda, and then you will see a lot of Rama, a lot of role and words for Rama. Of course, the story of Rama. So from Ayodhya Kanda onwards, you will see Balakanda. Right now, up to 18th Sarga, this yaga will be discussed a lot, and then in 18th Sarga, Rama will be born, and then thereafter Vishwamitra will come up, and then even there you will see very little, comparatively very little role for Rama, but other stories come up, and you should be a little patient. So I thought I will just make that what should I say, statement of caution, so that you don't get, if anybody, I know you people are not, but if anybody is getting a feeling like that, then maybe you should be a little patient. All shastras are also like that. So this is called, so for example, one Mahatma said somewhere, Siddhanta Kaumudi is Vyaghramukhi Gauhu. So it is actually a cow, a very soft animal, but its face is like Vyaghra, like a tiger. So almost every shastra is like that. In the beginning stages, it will be very difficult, but as you proceed, after some point in time, you will actually see the beauty of it. So even this seems to be like that. So I'm just kind of disclaiming it to you that you should be a little patient. And about this sarga itself, in I don't know if we will be able to finish this sarga even in this class. Let's hope to, but if it does not, then we will postpone to the next class. There will come some technical things, so I'm trying to reduce it to as minimum as possible. I'm not discussing those things in detail, only those things which might be of some interest, and then those things which might be useful for a student of Vedanta. Useful in the sense, if you're studying some kind of so-called advanced text, you will see some Mimamsa discussion going on. So there these things, some of these things will be useful. Only those things I am discussing. The much of the details of the yaga per se I am not discussing, because because of various reasons. One of the reasons is also that today these things don't, unfortunately, these things don't mean much to us, in the sense that today our shraddha towards these things has gone down to quite a large extent. So you will see Dasharatha being very careful about even the small minute things of the yaga, but for us it will look like, okay, why is such a issue being made? I mean, so you might even think, okay, let's proceed quickly. But then you will see those days, so even Dasharatha's time is like quite remote past. So, and even till maybe a few centuries back, people were very about these things, so that showed their shraddha towards these things. Today our shraddha in these things, so today, so one Mahatma told me, so in Vedanta we say Vairagya. So Vairagya is, so even to Brahmaloka you should get Vairagya. So today it's very easy to get Vairagya towards Brahmaloka, because we don't, I mean, it doesn't mean much to us that there is a Brahmaloka. You say, okay, so what's the big deal about it? I don't know about it, and things like that. So it's easy to get Vairagya towards Brahmaloka. Whereas people, let's say 2 3 generations back, people who studied Vedanta actually had such kind of Vairagya. They believed that there is a Brahmaloka, and they said, I don't want that also. So So anyway, so these things you should be a little. I thought I will make this statement in just in case anybody is feeling that okay, this is going too slow. But then once Rama comes in, even when Rama speaks in Balakanda, you will see it's very beautiful. And then when Rama's story proper comes in Ayodhya Kanda, and then when Rama and other characters speak, especially in Ayodhya Kanda, you will see that each one is what should I say, each character is wonderful in itself. So you will think, oh, Dasharatha is speaking so well. In between, Kaikeyi will come and speak. She will so well means when Kaikeyi speaks so well. Of course, it's very harsh words she will say, but even that you will think, even that will touch you somewhere. So that is the essence of Kavya. That all rasas in the Kavya are very touching. So there is a beautiful work called Kavya Prakasha, in which it's a Sahitya Shastra book. So it's a nice book in which it was written maybe in whatever in 11th 12th century. I don't know the dates, but by then all the previous Sahitya Acharyas Mammata consolidates their views there, and then he gives his. So he's a, what should I say, torch bearer for this school of Dhwani. And anyway, so that aside, so in the beginning, the first Mangala Charanam of his work, he writes a very beautiful shloka on Saraswati, Bharati, but that Bharati is Kaver Bharati, the Bharati of the poets. And then he shows the distinction between the Bharati of Chaturmukha Brahma and the Bharati of Kavi, the Bharati or the Srishti. So Nirmita Bharati, there it comes like that Bharati which is let's say which is created by Kavis, and then silently, I mean silently as in implicitly, there is a comparison between the creation of Chaturmukha Brahma. So there very nicely he says Chaturmukha Brahma's creation. So he doesn't directly mention Brahma there, but there's that suggestion there. So he's contrasting with Brahma. The creation of Brahma has Shad Rasas, six rasas. In that, not all rasas are equally palatable. There are rasas like bitter and too much of spice, hot and things like that. Those things are not palatable like even let's say sweet is. So salt is not as palatable as sweet is. But then in Kavi's this Kavi's Srishti, so in this Kavi Srishti, there are nine rasas. So even six rasas Brahma couldn't manage properly, but this Kavi manages with nine rasas, and all rasas are equally heart touching. So something like that. So you will see as we proceed later, when the story proper. I mean, even this is the story proper, but then what the Ramayana that we are more familiar with, when those stories unfold, you will really see how heart touching is the way Valmiki presents the story. I thought I will make these comments, and then also some I don't know whether it will come in today's session or in the next session. There will come some elements in this yaga itself, which might sound very I don't know what to say, maybe disturbing or exotic or what should I say, very, I don't know, kind of strange things to us. So because we don't see these kind of things around us anymore. This was a civilization where these things actually mattered. These things were carried on. So certain descriptions come here, and you might wonder. I mean, it might not be very palatable. So even then, you should be alert to the fact that this was the kind of system that was there. So you should judge them according to the system that was there at that time, not what you see around now, because society changes its dynamics always, like Tattvavedantaji always says. Anyway, so when such descriptions come, you should be alert. And there are a lot of mudslinging done on Ramayana story, and mainly by these Western Indologists. A lot of what should I say, disturbing things they say based on this sarga. So that's one more reason why I am trying to spend a little more time than you can usually just read the shloka, the translation, and go away. But instead, I am trying to bring in some kind of vidhi and things like that based on the vyakhyas here, especially Govinda Raja. So anyway, so this is one very kind of, I wouldn't say controversial, but the Indologists, Western Indologists have made it like that. So those things will come up. So I think we finished till 17th shloka of Chaturdasha Sarga in the last session. So we will start with 18th shloka. स्वलंकृताश्च पुरुषा ब्राह्मणान् पर्यवेशयन् उपासन्ते च तानन्ये सुमृष्टमणिकुण्डलाः. So where we ended last is, so Dasharatha is in that yaga of that Dasharatha, all people are being well fed. So good food is being served to them. And now Valmiki is describing how those people who served the food were. So these people are people who come and serve the food. So they are also very well taken care of by Dasharatha. That's the indication here. So they are all well dressed and things like that. That shows that Dasharatha is taking care of even those people who serve the food very well. So Swalankrita Purushaha Brahmanan Paryaveshayan. So these Swalankrita Purushaha, people, men who are very nicely dressed, they are serving this food to Brahmanas and then of course others also. And then even to them. So some people are serving the food and there are people who are serving these servers. So Upasante cha tan anye. Tan means so those the people who are serving. So tan means people who are serving, even them, some others, anye upasante, others are serving even these people. And then how are these people? The servers of the servers, they are Sumrushta Manikundalaha. So they are Manikundala. Kundala is those earrings, and those earrings have nice gems studded in them. And then they are nicely, I mean, good craftsmanship. Sumrushta is so nicely done. So nicely done, nice kind of ornaments they are wearing. So gem studded ornaments they are wearing. So this, so one of the Vyakhyakas, I don't remember who, says that actually serving, women do the serving, but here so many people are to be fed, so women cannot handle so much of kind of, what should I say, weight and things like that, so men are serving here. So one of the Vyakhyakas says, so this is because, so you can imagine people are sitting in a row and some people are serving them, and then there are other people, so food is kept somewhere else and then these people are sitting here, somebody is carrying the food from that place till the place where serving is done, and then somebody is taking over from there and actually serving the food. So you should imagine that way. कर्मांतरे च तदा विप्रा हेतुवादान् बहूनपि प्राहुः सुवाग्निनो धीराः परस्पर जिगीषया. So karmantare means when there is some gap between one karma and another karma. So like I said, Ashwamedha Yaga itself is a collection of many other small yagas to be done. So that forms part of the kind of, this called Anga and Angi. The Angi is the Ashwamedha Yaga, and there are small Angas, like you are this body, but then there are separate limbs also. The limbs constitute the body. Similarly, the small yagas constitute the Ashwamedha Yaga. So between one yaga and another yaga, there will be some break. During that break, what is happening? Karmantara means that when there is break between two Vaidika karmas, Karmantare tada vipraha. Vipraha means those scholars there. Hetuvada bahunapi prahuhu. So Hetuvada here means so Hetu Panyasa. So there are engaging in some Shastra discussion. So when there is break, these people, these scholars who are assembled there, they are engaging in some discussion of Shastras. And then bahunapi, many discussions, such discussions are happening. And these people are, these Vipra Suagminaha, they are experts at speech, and they are Dhiraha. Dhira is they are having some control over themselves. And Paraspara Jigishaya, why are they doing it? Because so suppose I say something and then another person says something, because he wants to win over me, as in he wants to show that he's more scholarly than me. So that's the meaning. So he knows more than me, or something like that. So this, so that is the, so tarkasya pratishthanat, they say. So tarka is like that. So if somebody construes some anumana, that's why we say in Vedanta that Vedanta you cannot study through pure anumana, like Atmavastu cannot be reached at through pure anumana, because if you construct one anumana, tomorrow somebody else will come and construct a stronger anumana and destroy your anumana. So there is no kind of, what should I say, conclusion. So one anumana you can keep on building like that, and that is the meaning of Shrutimatas Tarkonusandhiyata. So don't go into endless kind of anumana creation, but you create your anumana. By all means engage in tarka, but then your tarka you align with what Shruti is telling. So you construct your anumana in such a way that the Shruti's tatparya, what the Shruti is telling, that you are able to reason out and understand. So anyway, so here Paraspara Jigishaya, that means they are engaging in these discussions to win over the other person. That means they want to show that I am more intelligent than the other person. With that intention, they are engaging in some discussions like that. So interestingly, all our Puranas, so I think even Mahabharata and then Puranas, all of them are born like this. So if you take up any Purana and see, I don't know, Vishnu Purana maybe doesn't start that way if I remember well, but then most of the Puranas, if you take up, it starts like that. So these Shaunakadi Munis are doing one Mahasatra, and then all rishis are assembled there, and then Suta Muni goes there. He also goes as part of that yaga. So it's a many year yaga, so it's going on for many years. That yaga, when the Suta Muni approaches, and when there is break between the yagas, all these rishis go and approach. So Shaunaka is the Yajaman there. He's doing this satra, this many year satra, and then all the rishis and Shaunaka, all of them. So you will see all Puranas start that way. Shaunaka the Munayaha, they approach Suta Muni, then Suta, Mahabhaga, all Puranas start like that. Hey Suta, you are a great intelligent person and you have heard all these Puranic stories from everybody. So why don't you tell us this story? So that's how it starts. So when there is breaks between this yaga, these kind of discussions used to happen. So this is when scholars used to assemble. So it's a nice occasion to discuss these things. Next, दिवसे दिवसे तत्र संस्तरे कुशलाद्विजाः सर्वकर्माणि च कृस्ते यथा शास्त्रं प्रचोदिताः. So दिवसे दिवसे तत्र. So these so day after day. I think Ashwamedha Yaga is supposed to be for 3 days, 3 or 4. I think 3. So 3. So day after day, these people samstare means in that yaga. Divase divase, every day after day in that yaga. Kushaladvijaha, those expert brahmanas, what did they do? Sarva karmani chakruhu, they are doing all the karmas. How? Yatha shastram, as is ordained by the shastra shruti, they are doing all the karmas. And then yatha shastram prachoditaha, so you can take it two ways. So yatha shastram chakruhu, they are doing according to the shastras. And then prachoditaha is they are kind of what should I say, prachodita is they are being addressed to. I mean there are these ritviks, Vasishta, Rishishringa, these people are there and they are telling these other dvijas, so you go and do this, you go and do that. So they are engaging them. So these prachoditaha is they are being employed or engaged. And how are they being engaged? Yatha shastram prachoditaha, so they are being engaged according to the shastra. And then all tikakaras are telling this yatha shastram prachoditaha means they are using these Vaidika words while engaging them. So for example, so there are some examples that he gives. Bruhi, Preshya. So these words are being used. So Bruhi means so you utter, and then Preshya means you send it. So such words these Vasishta and others are using. By those words, these people, all the other Brahmanas there, they are being engaged into these karmas which are done according to the Shastras. Na shadanga vidatrasin navrato nabahushrutaha sadasyastasya vairagnyah navada kushalodvijaha. So in that yaga sadas, so that whole kind of assemblage is going on. In that assemblage, all these brahmanas who have assembled there are such great scholars. And how are they? Na shadanga vidatrasit, there is nobody there in that sadas who is not an expert in the shadangas of the Vedas. So there are 6 Vedangas. This has come again and again. So these 6 Vedangas, there is nobody there who's not an expert in all the 6 Vedangas. Then na bahushrutaha, this also has come up. So na bahushrutaha is there is nobody there who is not a bahushruta. So bahushruta, always thumb rule. Bahushruta means bahudhihi shrutaha bahudha shrutaha. So he has heard again and again, and he has heard from many people. So everybody is bahushruta, everybody is shadanga vedavit. Then sadasyas tasya vai ragnyah, tasya ragnyah sadasyaha. That means the kind of the brahmanas who are there in that yajna of that king, there everybody is such scholarly. Now vada kushalodvijaha, there is no brahmana there who is not an expert in vada. So vada is so technically vada is you have Vitanda, Jalpa, and one more. So vada is one of those. So vada, Vitanda, and Jalpa, there are 3 kathas. So katha is in Nyaya means kind of engaging in a discussion. So there are 3 kinds of discussion. Vada is a discussion in which I don't have any prior agenda. We discuss to come at to the true conclusion of the whatever shastra. So that is called vada. So vada, Jalpa, and Vitanda, there are 3 kind of, this is called vada katha. So vada is one of the 3 kathas. Kathas is engagement in the debate. So it's a technical term, katha there. So in Nyaya it's a technical term. So vada is a debate or a discussion which is engaged into for arriving at the conclusion of the shastra. So everybody is an expert in that vada katha. Then prapte yupochraye tasmin षड्बैल्वाः कादिरास्तथा तावन्तो बिल्वसहिताः पर्णिनश्च तथा परे. So you should understand in yajna, especially where yajnas where animals are involved, so you have something called the Upastambha. Upastambha is a pole which is erected, and these animals are tied to that Upastambha. So there are many Indologists who say like that actually the modern temple concept has come from this yagashala scenario. So in that, if you accept that, then this Agni will be the Mula Virat in the temples today, and then this Upastambha will be the Dvajastambha. There are many people say like that, and then this is Upastambha in the Yaga context is that pole. It's a wooden pole to which these animals are tied. And then there is Prashasti of the Upastambha also. Upastambha is eulogized, and then Adityo Upaha. So this Upaha is Aditya itself. So these are very standard examples in Mimamsa for Arthavada. So this Upa is sun itself. So that means that Upa is also dazzling brilliantly like the sun. So it's like the central, it's like the main kind of one of the main elements of the yaga itself, because this yajna pashu is tied to that yaga, to that upastambha. So here this Ashwamedha yaga being a big yaga, so many upastambhas have to be constructed, and then now Valmiki is describing what are those what should I say, woods which are being used for the upastambha. So mind you, these are all coming from Shruti itself. So Govindaraja will quote, and other Vyakhyakas are also quoting exactly what is the Shruti, or what is the Sutra of Jaimini, or what is the Bhashyam of Bhattavaskara, which is discussing these things. And then you see, so this is what one more statement, one more point I thought I will make in the beginning. So people who study Mimamsa and Veda and things like that, when they study Ramayana and Mahabharata, they will enjoy a lot, because what they are actually studying in Brahmana is a Brahmana text of the Veda that they are seeing here, and they can connect. So they have that kind of interest also, which we are not exposed to, so we can't know. So when Valmiki is telling that, there are this kind of woods used in the yaga, they will be able to connect immediately to the statements in the Brahmana portions of the Vedas. For some kind of injunctions, Valmiki Ramayana is the source also for those injunctions. For example, so Vali will tell Rama later in Kishkindha Kanda, so Pancha Pancha Nakha Bhakshya Brahmakshatrena Raghava. So that statement comes from Valmiki Ramayana, and this Pancha Pancha Nakha Bhakshyah is the standard example for Parisankhya Vidhi. So anyway, let's not go there. When that comes in Kishkindha Vidhi, we'll see. So here the context is the Upastambha has to be erected, and when this time has come for the erection of the Upastambha, that's the meaning. Prapte Upochraya. Upochraya is so raising that Upastambha, that is, or erecting the Upastambha. When that time has come, Prapte, when it has come, so tasmin, so in that yaga, when that context, when the time situation for erecting these Upastambha has come, then what happened? Shat Bailvaha, so 6 Upastambhas. So now you can count how many Upastambhas will come. So I will ask you at the end of this discussion. So 6 Upastambhas made of Bilva tree. So Bilva tree's wood is used for 6 Upastambhas. Khadiras tatha means like these Bailva. So even Khadira is another tree. So Khadira Vriksha also 6 Upastambha. So 6 made of Bilva, 6 made of Khadira. Tavanto Bilva Sahitaha Parninascha. So Tavantaha means in equal number, in as much number as earlier. So here also another 6. So 6 Bilva Sahitaha Parninaha. So this Parninaha is Palasha Vriksha. So that Palasha Vriksha's wood again, so Tavantaha, as many as earlier, that means another 6, and these are kept along with the Upastambha of the made of the Bilva tree. So 6 made of Palasha, which are kept near the Bilva Upastambhas. So Bilva Vriksha Upastambhas. So Palasha 6, Khadira 6, and Bilva 6. So now we have come up to 18 Upastambhas are there. And then Shleshmata Kamayodishto Devadaru Mayastatha Dvaveva Tatra Vihitau Bahuvyasta Parigraho. Shleshmataka is another wood. So one made of Shleshmataka. Dishtaha means Upadishtaha. That means it has been ordained by the Shruti that you should have one Upastambha made of Shleshmataka. So now you have 19 Shleshmataka and Devadaru Mayaha. So this Devadaru, Deodar tree we say. So Devadaru tree. So if you read only till here, it will look like Devadaru Mayaha. Singular is being used. Tatha means also one Devadaru, one Upastambha made of Devadaru tree, but then it's not one Dvaveva. So this Dvav goes with Devadaru. So two Upastambhas made of Devadaru tree. So 2 with Devadaru, one with Leshmataka, then 6 with Bilva, 6 with Khadira, and 6 with Parninaha, that is Palasha Vriksha. So totally 21 Upastambhas are there. So it's a huge yaga. So you can imagine. So how many animals will be tied there? That also will come later. We will see. So Dvaveva Devadaru Mayaha. So 2 with Devadaru. Vihitau Bahu Vyasta Parigrahu. Vihitau means it has been ordained by the Shruti that these many Upastambhas should be there. And Bahu Vyasta Parigrahu means, so the distance between one Upastambha and the other Upastambha is 2 hands distance. So you extend your hands like this. So one hand to one hand. So 2 hands distance is maintained between these Upastambhas. So Bahu Vyasta Parigraha. So it's used in dual number Parigraha. So Bahu Vyasta is extended hands. Vyasta Bahu means extended hands. So Parigraha means so as in that length. So long is the distance between two Upastambhas. कारिता सर्व एवैते शास्त्रज्ञैर्यज्ञकोविदैः शोभार्थं तस्य यज्ञस्य काञ्चनालंकृता भवन्. So karita means these, so this actually, this shloka goes with the previous two shlokas. Just karita means these upastambhas have been made like that, so made with these woods. Sarva evaite, all these have been thus made. Thus made means which those appropriate woods they have been made by whom? Shastrajnaihi Kovidaihi, Yajna Kovidaihi, Shastrajnaihi means people who are experts in these making of these Upastambhas, and Yajna Kovidaihi, they are being instructed also by these Brahmanas and other Ritviks who are experts in this Yajna. So there are these sculptors. These sculptors are being instructed by the Brahmanas how this Upastambha should be made, and they have been made like that. Or you can say these people are Yajna Kovidas themselves. So these sculptors are Yajna Kovidas. They are also, because it's a, what should I say, parampara, it comes. So traditionally it's a profession that comes in their family. So they have been instructed by their parents also that in Ashwamedha Yaga you should construct the Upastambha like this. So this is hereditarily passed down. That also you can say. So Yajna Kovidahi, you can tell even those sculptors are, or you can tell even the Brahmanas have instructed the sculptors. Anyway you can take. So why did they? So Shobhanartham tasya yajnasya kanchanalankrita bhavan. So these Upastambhas have been decorated with gold. So some gold has been put around them or things like that. So you can say they are gold plated or covered with gold kavacha and things like that. And why did they make like that? So Shobhanartham yajnasya shobhartham. So it is. So the Tikakara is telling it's not because it's vidhi like that, but just to make the Yajnashala very beautiful, they put gold caps over those Upastambhas just so that the Yajna Bhumi appears very nicely. So Shobhartham tasya yajnasya Kanchanalankrita bhavan. So Kanchanalankrita bhavan means they have been capped by gold. So Kanchana means gold. Ekavimshati upaste ekavimshatyaratnayah वासोभिरेकविंशद्भिरेकैकं समलंकृताः. So ekavimshati yupaha, te ekavimshati yupaha, those ekavimshati means 21. So those 21 yupas, ekavimshatyaratnayah. So what is the length of those yupas? So they are ekavimsharatnayah. So aratni, so aratni means traditionally aratni means, so from the tip of the elbow till the tip of the middle finger. So this is called so how do you define aratni traditionally is, it is 24 angulis. So anguli means the thickness of the thumb. So if you take this thickness of the thumb, 24 of that length makes one aratni. So like that 24 aratnis. So in modern day, as in this methodology we don't, this metric system we don't use, at least in the standard metric system we don't use. But interestingly, even now lay people use this metric system. For example, I don't know how it is in other cities or states, but here in Hyderabad, if you have to buy let's say a garland, then they say they sell it by mura. I think in Tamil it's called moram. So one mura. So they measure it like this. So this is coming from Ramayana. So this metric system, you will see that much of these metric systems, it seems there is a very interesting book by Michael Danino called The Lost River. It's a book on Saraswati civilization and Saraswati river itself. In that he dedicates a chapter to show, if I remember rightly, it's that book. So he dedicates a chapter which shows that the metric system that we have been following even today in construction of houses and things like that, the ratios that we are using in India is actually followed from the system that was there in the Vedas, the system that is there in Ramayana, the system that is there in Mahabharata, and the system that is there in Arthashastra. So Arthashastra has formalized these things. So in between there were some Indologists who didn't understand. So they said Arthashastra doesn't make sense and things like that. But then later Indologists came and showed that all these are continuing. It's the same kind of what was used in Indus Valley, what was used in Saraswati civilization, everything is same, they say. So aratni here means, so in modern kind of methodology it's called cubit. So one cubit is whatever this distance between, this tip of the middle finger till tip of the elbow. So actually the standard measurement is the other way, from the tip of the elbow to the tip of the middle finger. So that distance of cubit, these are 21. So 21 cubits high this Upastambha is, and then these have been Samalankritaha, these have been covered by Vasobhihi, by clothes, by nice beautiful cloth has been wrapped around them. And then how many cloths? Obviously, if there are 21 pillars, you need 21 stambhas are there, then you need 21 cloths to cover them. So Vasobhir Ekavamshadbhihi. So Ekaikam, each one of them has been covered by one cloth each. So there will be 21 clothes or whatever cloths that have been used. And then it's been decorated very nicely with those cloths. And then Vinyasta Vidhivat Sarve Shilpibhis Sukurta Dridhaha Ashtasraya Sarva Eva Shlakshna Rupa Samanvitaha. So Vinyasta Vidhivat. So Vinyasta is nicely decorated. Vidhivat as according to the Vidhi, Sarve Shilpibhihi Sukrita Dridha. So Shilpibhihi Vinyasta and then Shilpibhihi Sukruta. So Shilpibhihi, they are by the Shilpakaras, it has been nicely, according to the Vidhi, it has been nicely decorated and it has been nicely erected. Sukritaha means nicely erected. In this context, Sukrita means nicely erected. Sukrita generally means it's nicely made. So Sukrita Dridha. Dridha Sukrita means very strongly, firmly it has been erected. So Ashtasraya Sarva Eva Shlakshma Rupa Samanvitaha. So some geometry also. So Asri means what should I say, angle. So Ashtasrayaha means it's octagonal. So these Upastambhas are carved in such a way that it looks octagonal, so that there are eight angles, right? So octagon is 8 angles. So this is something like that. So octagonally they have been made and then they have nicely been smoothened and polished. So Lakshma Rupa Samanvitaha, Shlakshna Rupa Samanvita, Shlakshna is nicely kind of smoothened, so it's nice to touch, smooth to touch. That means there be nice finishing is done to those wood. So nicely finished and then nicely covered with clothes and things, the cloth and things like that. They're very nice to see. So Achaditaste Vasobhihi Pushpagandhaischa Pujitaha Saptarshayo Deeptimanto Virajante Yatha Divi. So Achaditaha Te Achaditaha, those Upastambhas have been nicely covered, Vasobhihi, by clothes, and Pushpagandhaischa Pujitaha, they have been so they put flowers and gandha and it has been worshipped. So this Upastambha has to be worshipped also. And so that has been done. And then now these Upastambhas, they are looking like Saptarshayaha. So they are looking like the Saptarshi Mandala. So Saptarshi Mandala is Great Bear or Minor Bear, one of those constellations in the sky. So you will see 7 stars there. So these Upastambhas are looking like that. So one of the Tikakaras is telling, by this you can understand that these 21 Upastambhas are kept or club 3 each. So 3 3 3 if you keep, it will look like there are, so though they are 21, it will look like 7. So the Saptarshi, it's as though Saptarshi Mandala, it's dazzling like that. So Saptarshayo Deeptimantaha Virajante Yatha Divi, like these Saptarshis nicely dazzle in the sky. These Upastambhas are nicely dazzling in the Yajnashala there. Ishtakascha Yathanyayam Karitascha Pramanataha Chitogni Brahmanais Kushalai Shilpakarmani. So Ishtaka means brick. So Ishtakascha Yathanyayam Karitaha. So these bricks also have been nicely constructed according to the Vidhi, how these bricks have to be constructed. So in the Vedic Vidhis are there. So according to that Vidhi, these bricks have been constructed. And Pramanataha means in the measurement that it has to be constructed, just constructed. And then Agnihi Chitaha. So Agnihi is fire. Fire has been what should I say? It has been set up there, and where appropriately where it has to be set up, it has been set up. Brahmanaihi Tatra. So Tatra means on that what should I say, on that Vedi, Agni Vedi, which has been set up. So he will give a description of that also. So on that these Brahmanas have nicely set up where all these fires have to be placed. They have placed it. Kushalaihi. So these Brahmanas who are Kushalas, they have been set up. Tatra means on top of that kind of arrangement of those bricks, these Brahmanas have set up, and this arrangement of bricks has been done by Shilpakarmani Kushalehi. So it has been, so the Shilpakarma is again, like I said, those people who sculptors, and then here contextually it means people who are good at baking these bricks. So they have nicely kind of made these bricks. So interestingly, recently when excavations were done during the in Ayodhya site, when these foundation was kind of laid for the temple that is being constructed now. So they have come up with some kind of rare archaeological what should I say, findings, which kind of interests. I don't know if it is impossible to explain. Obviously maybe it's not impossible to explain because some human mind has done it, but it's of rare interest. So I don't remember the details now, which it was widely shared on Facebook. All of you must have also seen a kind of lotus. So it has petals in the lotus in such a way that so that the number of petals is not divisible by 360. So the circumference of the circle is 360 degrees. So the petals are not, you cannot divide it that way. So how did they do? So somebody shared an explanation to that. That is, so if you take a rope of that length, and then you must have seen these things. So that rope is extended, and then another frame reference rope is extended, and then you draw lines between them. You must have seen this. So this rope that is used, so that's called Shulba sutras are there. So these are kind of, you can take sutras for architecture and carpentry and things like that. So those Shulba sutras are there. So this has been done. So Shilpa Karmani, there are alternate readings for that, to say Shulba Karmani also. So that's why I'm giving this explanation. So that Shulba means that rope which is being used for these kind of geometric formations. So somebody shared along with this information. Interestingly, so when this image was shared, some Western guy shared all this information that these details are there in Shulba Sutras, and it seems this thread measurement has been banned in some civilizations back then, like Greek or something like that. But Indians were expert. Because Indians were expert, it was banned in those civilizations. But we were expert. You could therefore divide 360 degrees by a number that is not divisible by 360. Exactly divisible. I don't know what are those words for that. So it leaves some remainder. So that cannot be if you want to make a symmetric system. Anyway, so the Shulba Karmani also is an alternate reading. I thought I will tell this. Now, Sachityo Rajasimhasya Sanchitah Kushalairdvijaihi Garudo Rukmapaksho Vai Trigunoštadashatmakaha Chityaha is that which is kind of kindled. So that which is kindled is fire. So Rajasimhasya Chityaha. So Rajasimhasya is here Dasharatha, who's a great king. So like the lion amongst kings is the literal meaning, but then great king. So that great king Dasharatha, the Agni of that great king Dasharatha has been Sanchitaha, so it has been established there. Kushalait Dujaihi, by those experts, expert Brahmanas, it has been, what should I say, it has been kindled and the appropriate places. And now this Yajnavedi is looking like Garudo Rukma Pakshaha. It's looking like a Garuda bird. And then this Garuda bird is Rukma Pakshaha. Rukma Pakshaha is, it has golden wings. So you can take it to mean that it is dazzling. That it's dazzling. Now there is fire also placed on it, therefore it's dazzling. Or there are Shruti Vakyas which say that there are some places in the Yajnavi, it's a huge altar. Okay, so that description also is given here in this shloka itself, that huge altar, and there are parts in that altar where you sprinkle gold. So because of that sprinkling of that gold on the parts which look like the wings of the eagle, you have to sprinkle gold. So gold chips or something like that. So therefore it's looking like this eagle is having gold on it, as though it's gold winged. It's looking like that. Now this Yajnavedi, this Garuda form is a common kind of Yajnavedi which you will see, like I told you last time, if you watched Fritz Stahl's documentary on that Agnishtoma, whatever sacrifice which he documented. So you can see that it's nicely made in an eagle form, and then Govindaraja is describing how that eagle should be. So it's extended wings. So it's not like the wings are closed, it's extended wings and extended tail, and the Pakshi is facing east but looking down. So the face is looking down, and then the wings are extended and tail is extended and it's facing east. So such is the formation. It's a huge thing. So how huge it is? It's Trigunaha. So it's thrice the usual size of Yajnavedi. And that is, why is it thrice? Not because Dasharatha was a rich king, so he wanted it so big. No, the Shruti Vakya is like that. So I told you in the last session, there is something called Prakriti Yaga and Vikriti Yaga. So let me give some information of some interest to you perhaps. So Rama's Shakha or Dasharatha's Shakha is Shukla Yajurveda. How? So I was stunned. Govindaraja very nicely brings about that in this shloka itself. I will tell you how. So Shukla Yajurveda. So in Shukla Yajurveda you have in total 140 chapters, total Veda, of which the first 40 chapters are the Samhita Bhaga. So it's called Vajasani Samhita, the first 40 chapters, and then the next 100 chapters is called Shatapatha Brahmana. So Mantra Brahmana Yoho Veda Namatheyam. Veda consists of this Samhita portion, Mantra portion, and 100 chapters of Brahmana portion. So Brahmana portion in Shukla Yajurveda, it's 100 chapters of Brahmana, and then 92 chapters of that Brahmana constitutes Brahmana. So Shatapatha Brahmanam, 92 chapters constitutes Brahmana. The last 8 chapters constitute Aranyaka. So it's called Brihadaranyaka, that Aranyaka. Of those 8 chapters, the last 6, so 92 chapters of Brahmana, 2 chapters of Aranyaka, and 6 chapters of Upanishad. So that is called Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Why is it called Brihadaranyaka Upanishad? Because it forms part of this Aranyaka called Brihadaranyaka, and then this Brihadaranyaka itself is the last 8 chapters of this Shatapatha Brahmana, which is 90 chapters. So traditionally Upanishad is part of the Aranyaka, Aranyaka is part of Brahmana, and Brahmana and Samhita together form Veda. So why am I telling this? So this Shatapatha Brahmana is divided into 14 sections based on the topics. So in that way, if you see, 13th topic is Ashwamedha Brahmanam. So this Ashwamedha is described in the 13th kind of penultimate topic in the Shatapatha Brahmanam itself, and the 14th topic is the Brihadaranyaka. So the Aranyaka and the Upanishad come in the 14th topic. So therefore I am assuming Ashwamedha has to be a Vikriti Yaga, because so many yagas have been already described before this. So this Trigunaha therefore shows this Ashwamedha Yaga has thrice the number. So there have been yagas which have been described before, and that yaga had a particular number, and that number you have to have thrice that number in size and measurement, thrice of that for Ashwamedha. That is the meaning of Trigunaha. So Trigunaha means thrice. So Trigunaha Ashtadashatmakaha. So in usual yagas you have 6 Agnis are kept there, but here it is Trigunaha. So Trigunaha means 18. So 6 into 3, it is 18. So Govindaraja is very nicely saying, if you say Trigunaha, it's enough. So Trigunaha, I know usual Agni sacrifice requires 6 Agnis. If you say Trigunaha, it's 18. Why should you say Trigunaha Ashtadashatmakaha? So he is telling Trigunaha Ashtadashatmakaha is said because in Taitriya Shakha, Trigunaha, so in the regular yaga there are 5 Agnis, and then Trigunaha would mean 15. But to show that it is not the Taitriya Shakha but this Vajasanei or Shukla Yajurveda Shakha, so Trigunaha Ashtadashatmakaha, by which you have to infer that he's following this Vajasanei whatever Shakha, the Shukla Yajurveda Shakha, for which the 6 is the standard, and 3 of that 6 would mean 18. So 3, if you just say 3, it can mean either Taitriya Shakha or this Vajasanei Shukla Yajurveda Shakha. To show that it is Shukla Yajurveda Shakha, he is telling Ashtadashatma. I was stunned listening to this. So far I have heard only Mahatmas say that Rama belonged to Shukla Yajurveda. How, I didn't know. So today I am telling you this. I am telling you means Govindaraja is saying. Very beautiful, I found it. Now, so 30th shloka, Niyuktas tatra pashavas tattaduddishya daivatam uragah pakshinashchaiva yathashastram prachoditaha. So Niyuktaha, there have been kind of brought there, or you can say tied to those Upastambaha. So Upastamba tatra pashavaha, to there these pashavaha animals have been brought, and what are those animals? It's not like all animals that I brought, so, or like in somewhere else you will find 2 of every kind, so all animals 2. It's not like that. Yatha tattad uddishya daivatam, what has been said. So for this devata, this is the animal, for this devata, that is the animal, it has been mentioned. So according to that, tattad uddishya daivatam, tattad daivatam uddishya, whatever has been kind of ordained with that devata in mind, so those pashavaha have been brought there. So for any yaga, 2 things are required. So what is the definition of yaga? Devatodeshena dravyat yagaha. So for any yaga, you should say who is the devata and what is the dravyam. What is the material through which you are performing the yaga, and what you are putting in the fire. So those 2 things if you say, then the discussion of the yaga is complete. So therefore Daivata, the devata, and what is the material that you are offering. So those 2 things are mentioned. Therefore that's the description of the yaga. And then what are those animals which are brought here? Uraga means snakes. Pakshinaha is birds. So Uraga Pakshinashchaiva yathashastram prachoditaha. So as per the Shruti's injunctions, these animals have been brought up. And then Shamitre tu hayastatra tatha jalacharashchaye rishibhis sarvamevaitan niyuktam shastratastada. So Shamitra, so this Shamitra, actually this shloka is telling the horse, the Ashwa, the main Ashwa, so that Ashwa has been brought, and then Jalacharaha, there have been, see this Jalachara means aquatic animals, so tortoise or something, some people wrote like that, so these things have been brought up. So Shamitra is that part of the yajna where there is some himsa involved, that is an animal is killed. So all these animals are brought, but not all of them are killed. So Govindaraja nicely explains some of those animals, they do pradakshina. So they are made to do pradakshina of the Yajnashala, and they are left. And then there are some animals which are actually killed, which is Ashwa here. And then Jalachara has other aquatic animals. It's not very clear to me from the Vyakyas whether these Jalachara are also kind of offered. It looks like that, but I'm not sure, because in the description later only the Ashwa's Homa is being described. Anyway, so Hayaha is Ashwa and Jalachara has other aquatic animals. And Govindaraja is telling there are two kind of animals, so animals which are from the forest and animals which are tamed, kind of Gramya animals, tamed animals. So those tamed animals are offered in the fire. The kind of wild animals are not offered. So he's telling like that. Rishibhihi sarvamevaitan niyuktam shastratah. So these rishis have all have tied all those animals to those posts according to the shastra. So what Veda has said in this context, they have followed those things. पशूनां त्रिशतं तत्र यूपेषु नियतं तदा अश्वरत्नोत्तमं तत्र राज्ञो दशरथस्य. So this second line comes with next shloka, so you will see that later. Pashunam trishatam tatra yupeshu niyatam. So how many animals have been tied there? So 300 animals have been tied to those 21 posts. So these Tikakaras are telling in some other, so in the Veda mantra Yakhya, the total number of animals in Ashwamedha Yaga is 519. So how did this Trishatam come? How did 300 animals come from? So they are saying that there are 519 animals in total, but the main animals are 300. So that is what is being discussed here. The main animals 300 have been tied there. And then Yupeshu Niyatam, Yupeshu means to those poles they have been tied. Now Ashwaratnottamam tatra Rajno Dasharathasya Kausalyatam. So actually you can tell this half shloka here itself. So Ashwaratnottamam, so this Ashwa which is like that great gem. So Ratnottamam, so this Ashwa is like that great treasure now, because that's the main object of this yaga. So that Dasharath, that Ashwaratna of that Dasharatha's that great horse has also been brought up there and tied to the Yupastambha. Rajnyaha Dasharathasya Ashwaratnottamam also has been tied to that Yupastambha. Now Kausalyatam Hayam Tatra Paricharya Samantatah Kripaneir Vishashasainam Tribhif Paramaya Muda. Now Kausalya, so by Kausalya you should take Lakshanaya, the other two queens also, all the three queens. What do they do? So Hayam Tatra Hayam Paricharya. So they approach the horse and then they Paricharya literally means served, but here it means they have did prokshanam and sprinkled water on them and did some shuddhi. So samantataha means comprehensively. So samantataha you can take here according to the vidhi. They did that prokshanam, and then kripaneir vishesha sainam tribhif paramaya muda. So paramaya muda means with great happiness. But then what did they do? If you read, then you will wonder what is the happiness in this. But then here you should say paramaya muda means with great, muda means happiness, but you should take muda as shraddha here. So with great shraddha, because that is what Shruti has been saying. So some of these disturbing parts come now. So you will wonder what is the thing here. But you should understand that that was the lifestyle of people there. They had great shraddha in Shruti, which unfortunately we don't have today, and because Shruti has said it, they are doing it. So what did she do? Kripaneir Vishashasainam Tribhihi Kripanaihi. So with three knives or whatever, daggers, the small knives, or I don't know, maybe swords, she kind of poked into that horse thrice. So Vishashasa is she poked into it. So it is, so Govindaraja is telling it's already a dead horse. They have killed it, and now the Rani, so she is coming. So she is the Mahishi. So Kausalya is the chief queen. She is coming and poking that horse with three swords. Paramaya Muda, with great Shraddha. What is the Shraddha here? Shruti has said it, so she is doing it. So Patatrina tada sardham susthitena chachetasa avasad rajanimekam Kausalya dharmakamyaya. So Patatrina means, so Patatri means actually bird. So Patatrina means with that bird. Here it means a horse. So that horse which moves swiftly like a bird. So Patatri is another word for horse also, it seems, according to some koshas. But then here it's nice to take the kind of suggestive meaning. So Patatrina means that horse which moves very swiftly like a bird. So tada sartham sustithena cha chetasa. That Kausalya. So with that horse, along with that horse, so avasad rajani mekam. She spent one night. That dead horse, she spent one night there, and then and how did she spend? Susthitena cha chetasa, with that well composed mind she spent. She means other queens also, they spent the one night with that horse there. Avasad Rajani Mekam Kausalya Dharma Kamyeya. Why did she go there? Because she had this so this dharmic kamana of having a child. So that Dharma Kamyeya Avasad Rajani Mekam. So she spent that one night there with that horse. So the horse is dead, mind you. So होताध्वर्युस्तथोद्गाता हयेन समयोजयन् महिष्या परिवृत्याथ वावातम अपराम तथा. So there are two meanings given for this 35th shloka here. I am, like I said, I am following Tilakakara's Vyakhya. So Tilakakara and Shiromanikara go in one direction, and in this shloka, and Govindaraja is telling something else, but I am following Tilakakara, which is also what Shiromanikara is telling. So Hota, so like I told you, there is Hota, Adhvaryu, Udgata and Brahma. 4 Ritviks are there, and then these people, of these three people, Hota, Adhvaryu and Udgata. So Brahma in the yajna is very supervisory. He doesn't involve in the act itself. So he's just looking at things. So the people who actually do the things are these three people. So Hota, Adhvaryu and Udgata, Hayena Samayojayan. So they took these queens to the horse. So where that horse? So this is the next morning. So they took the queens. That means they were there. I mean, this shows that so the kratu that has to be done there is being done. So Hayena Samayojayan, having approached the horse there, Mahishya. So who did they make approach the horse? So Mahishya Parivrityatha Vavatam Aparam Tatha. So they brought these Mahishi Parivrit. Parivritya and then Parivritta, I think Parivritta and then Vavata. So there are three kinds of queens. So these three kinds of queens and the horse, they kind of brought together. Hayena Samayojayan. There is another pata called Hastena Samayojayan. So there Hastena means Hayasya Hastena. So they went, and I mean they made them touch the horse. That's the meaning there. So they made these three kinds of queens touch the horse. So who are these three kinds of queens? So one is Mahishi, one is Parivritta, and then another is Vavata, and then there is a fourth. So I told something like this earlier also. So Tilakakara gives one meaning, Govindaraja gives one meaning, and then Shiromanikara gives a convex combination of those two meanings. So what is that? So let me just, because now we are closing the time also, I mean close to the time, so let me just spend some time here. So according to Tilakakara, every Raja has three queens, and the first is Mahishi. Mahishi is also called Patta Mahishi. So Mahishi is the queen who gets coronated along with the king. So this king, when he's getting coronated as the king, he has a wife beside him. She also gets coronated, and that queen is Mahishi, Patta Mahishi. So she's the first queen. She's the chief queen. So she sits beside the queen in all his dharmic activities. So she's the chief queen. And then so this Mahishi is Kritabhisheka. So this Mahishi is somebody who has got coronated along with the king. And then there is Parivritta, there is Parivritya Rajno Bhogad Bahishkrita. So this Parivritta is somebody who's like a servant to the queen. So she's a slave, so she does not engage in any activity with the king. They don't even come together or things like that. So there is no union. She's just left away from all the bhogas. She's not involved, but she's serving the queen, serving the king. That is the Parivrita, second type of queen. And then so she's the Dasi. And then there is Vavata. Vavata is Vallabha, Rajnyaha Vallabha. So this Vavata is a queen that is very dear to the king. So he likes to be with her. So there is one king who's for his dharma activities. There is one queen, one queen for the dharma activities, one queen to serve him, and then one queen in which he is kind of interested in for all kind of activities. So three kinds of queens. So that is one discussion. And then this discussion he's telling, okay, there is another discussion which he is giving, that there are three queens that the king has. So the same names. So this Mahishi is the queen who's a Kshatriya lady whom the king has married. She is the Mahishi. Now it's easy to guess. So the Madhyama. So this is the Uttama Jati queen. So this Uttama Jati queen is a Kshatriya Kanta whom this king has married. Then there is Madhyama Jati queen, who is a Vaishya woman. This the king has married, and she is Vavata. She is the person in which the king is actually kind of spending time and interested in. And then Adhama Jati, there is another queen So I mean, these are what is so these are there like that. You can't kind of, I mean, you can't question or things like that, because Shruti is like that. Shruti has said something, then it's kind of unquestionable. On that I will say something later. But then this Adhama Jati queen is the Shudra Kanta whom he has married. So three. So this he is telling the Bhashyakara of Aitareya Brahmanam. Aitareya Brahmana, in that Aitareya Brahmana Bhashya, these things are mentioned. He's telling what these Uttama, Adhama and Madhyama Kanta I am talking about here. And then Shiromani Kara adds one more queen, and I mean he's not adding. There are sutras like that. So that queen is what is her name? So Palakali. So this Palakali is another queen that he's adding. So this is the, and then Govindaraja says, so each of these queens are donated to each. So Adhvaryu, so Brahma, Adhvaryu, Udgata, and sorry. What is the first one? So Hota, Adhvaryu, Udgata, and Brahma. To each of them, each of these four queens are given in Dana, is what Govindaraja is telling. What what Tilakakara is telling is there are three queens only, and they are not given in Dana or anything. Now this Shiromani Kara takes a convex combination. He says there are four queens but no Dana. So four queens, and those queens are taken to the horse. So if you say Hastena Samayojayan is the partha that Govindaraja is telling, and telling that these have been given in Dana to the four priests, four Ritviks. Whereas Shiromani Kara says or Tilakakara says three queens, because even in the shloka only three are mentioned, Mahishi, Parivrita, and Vavata, three queens, and those have been taken to the horse, and they have made so to touch the kind of right foot, front right foot or something like that. Description is there, and then touch that foot. This is what the Brahmana, the Udgata, Adhvaryu, and Hota did. So we will stop here because I will make one comment, and we will kind of continue in the next session. Um, so I will say something and then I will conclude. So this is part of the session. So it looks to us that Mimamsakas are very kind of not orthodox, but what should I say? What's the so dictator kind of thing? So because Shruti has said it, you have to do like this. This came up because recently I was telling my teacher, Advaita Siddhi teacher, I was telling him, so modern day. So there's this word that I kind of coined. Of course, it's there. It's being used. These what should I call? So dharmic warriors. These dharmic warriors. So I was telling. So because he was teaching me something which Mimamsakas topic came up. So I said I don't meet Mimamsakas anywhere today. They have all gone. Only Mimamsakas that are left today are these dharmic warriors who kind of want to say the Smriti has said it, so you have to do like this. So very harsh kind of kattarpanthi they say in Hindi. So that what should I say? Very what is the word I use? Very dictator kind of stance they take. So it seems to be the Mimamsakas are also like that. So my teacher corrected me. Whatever those Hindu dharmic views, he doesn't know all these Facebook and things like that. What these people are discussing on Facebook, he doesn't know these dharmic warriors kind of people. But he said, I don't know about them. But Mimamsakas are not like that. They are not people who will make you put blindly believe in. Because Veda has said it, you have to do. Of course, they are saying it. They have, so they give this of all the Astika Darshanas, they are the ones who give the highest kind of uncompromising position to the Vedas, but then they are not dictatorial. They are kind of, they make their, what should I say, arguments to why you should be like that and things like that. Anyway, he kind of made a very nice um, gave me some kind of arguments there which I'm not able to remember. So, but then these Mimamsakas are not dictatorial like they seem to be. But the nature of Shruti is like that, like we have seen in the first very introduction session itself. So they are Prabhu Samhita. So they are like that. So it's like the king's order. So this Prabhu Samhita, interestingly, is the Vedic mantras are like that. So they will say you have to do like this. So that is the Prabhu Samhita there. So that is the Chodana Lakshana Artho Dharmaha they say. So this Chodana Lakshana is there. That is they instigate you. I mean they push you into that action by order, by force. By force means, so Shankara criticizes this in his Bhashyam, and he says that Chodana is not coming from the Shruti. That instigation is not coming from the Shruti. That instigation is coming from your own desire, which is from Ajnana. So he says your Ajnana is pushing you into action. Don't blame the Shruti. Don't say Shruti is making me do this action. Your Ajnana is making you do this action, he says. So anyway, so but the statements of the Veda have that power. They make you do means if you have Shraddha in the Shruti, it makes you do. So this thing I have to keep adding because today none of us kind of none of us is maybe an exaggeration, but most of us don't have that same kind of reverence which people back then had on these Vedas and Shrutis and things like that. Anyway, we'll stop at Shloka 35 and we will continue in the next session. Om yatra yatra raghunath kirtanam tatra tatra kritamastak बाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ तत्सत्. Don't end the recording. So one point that I just remembered, but then again I forgot. Yeah, but the point was, so Mimamsakas also so there was this discussion on what is it that common factor because of which we are clubbing Mimamsa and Vedanta as one school. You know why you club Sankhya and Yoga as similar schools? Because most of their philosophy is same, except that yogis bring in an Ishvara, and then because of that Ishvara they discuss some additional things, and their emphasis is more on sadhana aspects. And Sankhya and Yoga, and philosophically they are almost the same. And then Nyaya and Vaiseshika also philosophically they are the same, except that Nyaya is more Pramana focused and Vaiseshika is Prameya focused, but they are the same. But in Mimamsa and Vedanta it's not the same. You know, Mimamsa and Vedanta actually are quite, what should I say, parallel. They are not complementary but parallel. And then the strongest opponent that Shankara keeps addressing in the Upanishad Bhashyams is the Mimamsaka. In Gita Bhashyam also the Mimamsaka is kind of addressed often. So why did they club the Mimamsaka? So this is out of Ramayana context, but then because I brought in Mimamsaka, I'm telling these things. So why did they club the Mimamsaka and the Vedantin? Is because these are two schools. And then one kind of common answer which they give is Vedantins are Vyavahare Bhattanayaha. They say in Vyavahara Vedantins follow Bhatta school. It's largely true, but it's not entirely true. There are many things in which we don't follow the Bhatta school. There are some things in that don't follow portion which we follow the Prabhakara school and things like that. But even that's not the reason. The actual reason is that these are two schools for whom the sutra is not the pramana. So if you ask the Nayayika or the Vaiseshika, so how many padarthas are there, then immediately he will quote the first sutra of the Nyaya Sutras and say these many padarthas are there. The count of the number of padarthas is not coming from Shruti. For them it's coming from the sutra. So sutra is more important for them. For us, like even for the Mimamsakas, for us means I mean the Vedantins, for Vedantins and Mimamsakas, the sutra is not the, I mean it's not the pramana in the same way as it is pramana for the Nayayikas. For us, there are things in the sutras which we do an anumana of. For example, this was raised because, so there is a question raised implicitly in Advaita Siddhi, which is where is this fact mentioned anywhere in the sutras that this Jagat is mithya? So explicitly it's not mentioned anywhere in the sutras that the Jagat is mithya. So why are you Vedantins saying that Jagat is mithya? Why are you Advaitins saying? So we do an anumana of that mithyatvam being mentioned in from the sutras itself. So we kind of take a lakshana meaning of the sutras. This tendency is there in the Mimamsakas also. So Shabara Swami will say that you should not take the sutras literally, you should not take these things literally. And Kumarila Bhatta also adds that these literal meaning you should give to the Vedas but not to the sutras. And then these people, Kumarila Bhatta and then Shabara Swami also, I think, I haven't studied these things, I am just telling you what scholars have, or what my teacher has told me. So they criticize smritis also a lot. It's not like because somebody will quote some smriti and say this is, so you should do like this. So you should not do like that. So this Kattarpanthi is not there in the Mimamsakas like we see today. So today there are these people, so they are traditionally called Sanatanis, and then what I call as dharmic warriors. So they quote some smriti and say it's not, it's, so you have to be like this. So even the Kumarila Bhatta and then Mimamsakas, even they don't say like that. So even Shankara says Kim Shlokam Pramanam. So I'm saying so much logically, and then you will bring one shloka. So Shankara says in as many words. I'm telling you something that is reasonable, logic. Yeah, Smriti literalists, you can say that. So I'm saying something logical, and then you quote one shloka and say, then Shankara says, I don't have to explain the shloka. Kim Shlokam Pramanam. Just one shloka cannot be a pramana. Anybody can write one Anushtup. shloka. So they are these people who don't take these smritis just because something is mentioned in the smriti. You need not take it that way. So that's the kind of, so what's the common feature between these Purvamimamsakas and Vedantins is the place that they give to this is sutra literature. So this is one view for why clubbing together. Of course, there are other views also. So anyway, I thought I will say this because I brought up that Mimamsakas and orthodox, kind of orthodox name. Um, what's the meaning? The dictator kind of tendency that these people have. The Mimamsakas are not like that. So anyway, so okay, now we can end the recording. So if you